The emotion isn't the problem. Believing you are the emotion is. People spend years trying to control how they feel and wonder why nothing changes. The Vedic texts cracked this open millennia ago, and modern psychology just confirmed it. Once you see the difference between feeling something and being it, the whole game shifts. In this video, I'll show you. Number 1. Why trying to control your emotions makes them stronger, not weaker. Number 2. The specific mental faculty the Vedic texts identified that lets you observe your emotions without being run by them. Number 3. A 3-step daily practice you can use the next time a difficult emotion hits before it takes the wheel. Let's get into it. A guy I spoke with a few months back, mid-30s, sharp, ran his own business, told me he'd been meditating for 2 years, every morning, 30 minutes, no exceptions. But the moment his business partner sent a passive-aggressive email, he'd spiral for the rest of the day. Couldn't focus, replayed the conversation on loop. He said, I thought meditation was supposed to fix this. It wasn't that the meditation was wrong, it's that nobody had taught him what to actually do with the emotion when it showed up. Think about the last time you told yourself to calm down. Maybe it was before a difficult conversation, or right after someone said something that stung. You told yourself, just relax, don't overreact, keep it together. And what happened? The feeling got louder. This is one of the most well-documented patterns in emotion research. It's called the rebound effect. When you try to suppress a thought or a feeling, the brain has to keep checking whether it's gone. And every time it checks, it reactivates the very thing you're trying to push down. You end up thinking about the white bear more than if someone had just said, think about whatever you want. The Vedic texts didn't use the word rebound effect, but they describe the same mechanism with precision. In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a line that gets translated roughly as, the mind is restless, turbulent, strong, and unyielding. Controlling it is as difficult as controlling the wind, and the prescription is never to force it into silence. The prescription is to train the faculty that watches the mind. Modern psychology arrived at the same place through a different door. Emotion regulation research, particularly work out of Stanford and Harvard over the last 20 years, consistently shows that suppression as a strategy not only fails, it increases physiological stress markers. Your heart rate stays elevated longer, your cortisol stays higher, you feel worse, and the people around you can sense something is off even if you haven't said a word. The reason most emotional regulation techniques fail is that they're aimed at the wrong target. People try to change the emotion. The actual skill is changing your relationship to the emotion. That's not a small distinction, it's the whole thing. The emotion is a signal, it's information your nervous system is sending you. Fear says, pay attention, something might be wrong. Anger says a boundary has been crossed or you perceive an injustice. Sadness says something you valued has been lost. These are not malfunctions, they're data. The problem is when we treat the signal as a command. Fear says pay attention and we read it as run. Anger says a boundary was crossed and we read it as attack. That's not the emotion's fault. That's the gap between stimulus and response collapsing to zero. And that gap is exactly what emotional regulation techniques are designed to rebuild. Takeaway, stop trying to turn the emotion off. Start asking what it's telling you. The Vedic framework for the mind is more granular than most people expect. It doesn't just say mind. It breaks down the inner world into distinct layers with distinct functions. And one of those layers is called the buddhi. Buddhi is typically translated as intelligence or discriminating intellect, but those translations don't quite carry the weight of what it actually means. A better way to say it, Buddhi is the part of you that can watch the rest of you. The Gita uses the metaphor of a chariot. The body is the chariot. The senses are the horses. The mind is the reins, and the buddhi is the charioteer, the one holding the reins, the one with the view of where things are actually going. When the buddhi is undeveloped, the horses run wild. The chariot goes wherever the horses want. When the buddhi is trained, the charioteer is in control. The horses still run, they still have energy and force, but they're directed. This is not mysticism. This maps almost perfectly onto what neuroscience calls the prefrontal cortex, specifically its role in what researchers call cognitive reappraisal, which is the single most effective emotional regulation technique identified in the literature. Cognitive reappraisal means stepping back from the raw emotional experience and asking, what else could this mean? What's actually happening here beyond my first interpretation? When you do that, you're activating the buddhi. You're engaging the observer. And the research is striking. People who use cognitive reappraisal regularly show lower rates of depression, better relationship quality, higher life satisfaction, and lower physiological stress responses. Not because they feel less, because they process differently. The observer stance, which is what I'm calling this in practical terms, is the ability to say, there is anger here instead of I am angry. That one word shift from I am to there is creates a gap. And in that gap is where choice lives. This is what the Vedic tradition means by being in the world but not of it. Not detached in the sense of numb or distant, detached in the sense of not being swept away. You can feel the wave and not become the wave. The ocean doesn't panic when a wave rises. It is the ocean. The wave is just what it's doing right now. Developing the buddhi, developing the observer is a trainable skill. It's not a personality trait you either have or don't. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it responds to consistent practice, not to one heroic effort when you're already in crisis. The mistake most people make is trying to access the observer for the first time in the middle of an emotional storm. That's like trying to learn to swim while you're drowning. The practice has to happen when the water is calm, so that when the storm comes, the skill is already there. Takeaway: the observer isn't something you create, it's something you uncover, and the way you uncover it is by practicing the stance before you need it. This practice is built on one core insight from both Vedic philosophy and emotion science. You cannot think your way out of an emotional state while you're inside it. You have to first create separation, then investigate, then choose. 3 steps: name it, locate it, question it. Step 1: name it. When a difficult emotion arrives, the first move is to name it out loud or in writing, not I'm angry. The specific form, there is anger here, or I notice frustration, or there is fear present right now. This isn't wordplay, there's a reason it works. Research by Matthew Lieberman at UCLA showed that labeling an emotional state, what he called affect labeling, reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, and increases activity in the prefrontal cortex. You are literally shifting neural activation from the reactive part of the brain to the observing part by naming what you feel. The Vedic tradition would say you're activating the buddhi. The neuroscientist would say you're engaging the prefrontal cortex. They're describing the same movement. Step 2: locate it. After you name it, find it in the body. Where is this emotion sitting? Chest tight, jaw clenched, stomach heavy, throat constricted? Bring your attention there without trying to change it. Just observe the physical sensation, the way you'd observe weather through a window. This step matters because emotions are not just mental events, they are full body experiences. And when you locate the sensation, you do 2 things at once. You interrupt the story the mind wants to spin around the emotion, and you give the nervous system a signal that it's safe to feel without acting. The body starts to regulate on its own when it's observed without judgment. This is the core mechanism behind somatic therapies, and it's also the mechanism the Vedic practice of pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses, is pointing at. You're not escaping the experience, you're watching it more closely than you normally would. Step 3: question it. Once you've named the emotion and located it in the body, ask one question: what is this telling me? Not why am I like this, not how do I make this stop, just what is the signal? What information is this emotion carrying? Fear might be telling you that something genuinely needs attention, or it might be pattern matching to an old threat that no longer exists. Anger might be pointing to a real violation of your values, or it might be a reflex from a time when the world felt more dangerous than it does now. You won't know until you ask, and you can't ask until you've created enough separation to hear the answer. This is the core of every emotional regulation technique that actually works. Not suppression, not venting, not distraction, creating the gap, investigating what's in it, and then choosing a response from that wider view. The Gita calls this the difference between the one who acts from wisdom and the one who is driven by the senses. It's not about being emotionless. Arjuna wept before the battle. He felt the full weight of what he was facing. The teaching wasn't don't feel it. The teaching was don't let the feeling make the decision for you. Practice this when the stakes are low, when you're mildly annoyed, not when you're in a full crisis. Name it, locate it, question it. Do it enough times in ordinary moments and the observer becomes your default mode. The gap between stimulus and response becomes a place you actually live, not just a concept you've heard about. Takeaway: name it, locate it, question it. 3 steps in order every time. The sequence is the practice. That sequence works, but knowing it and being able to use it when your nervous system is fully activated are two different things, and the gap between them is where most people get stuck. If you've tried versions of this on your own and you still find yourself getting swept away, still reacting before you can catch yourself, still feeling like the emotion is running the show, despite everything, the fastest way through that isn't another video, it's a conversation. I do free one-on-one consultation calls, 15 to 30 minutes, no pitch, completely personal to where you are right now. We'll look at exactly where the observer stance is breaking down for you, and you'll walk away with a specific next step for your situation, whether we ever work together again or not. The link to book is in the description. It takes about 30 seconds to schedule. If this kind of thinking is useful to you, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Tell me in the comments, which of the 3 steps, naming, locating, or questioning, feels hardest for you when the emotion is strong.